including the fact that Debo was fine, who just turned into a complete decoy.
They were
if
all
he's
wrong.
100%.
Every single one of those reports was wrong this week.
Oh, I had the list of them. Every single one. They're like the big five. So Roshan Johnson enhanced role. Nope. And granted, we talked about game script and that, but Cam Akers hot hand. Nope. Marvin Mims. Nothing. Zeke starter reps. Nope. Debo should be fine. Nope. Decoy. All of those are bull crap. We're at that time. We do this every year, Pat. And I mentioned that on All Football. It's those 12:30 reports that we get on Sundays. And it's like, I'm hearing this. But just don't pay attention to anything from like 12:30 to 1 o'clock. Just stick with what we knew before that.
Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Week 5 rankings by position. You want the entire list? Go hit the description. All the lists are down there, completely updated. They get updated every single day. You want to hear us talk about a particular position? Well, there are time codes for that as well. So you can just click on those and make it easy on yourself. You want projections? You can make your own or use the stock ones at runthesims.com. Code MAYO will get you a discount over there. Actually, you know what? Jake Ciely, code RANKS will get you a discount over there, won't it?
It will get you a discount over there, and you'll be able to do the same thing I've been doing, is using it for DFS a lot, quite a bit. And when I do the show with Joe Holka, there's a lot of stuff I use to reference over there.
See, that's perfect. I've been using the prop sniper. I think 9 of the top 10 weighted props that we had this weekend were all winners. And I went and looked at my bank account on Monday morning. I was like, oh yeah, I won all this money. This was fantastic. So yeah. Code RANKS at runthesims.com. The DraftKings Listeners League is now open. That link is down in the description. And Jake, my eye is getting better. This is great news. The last time that this happened to me was when I first joined DraftKings. I was scheduled to fly to Boston to film this Buffalo Wild Wings commercial that was going to run in Buffalo Wild Wings. And I showed up and my eye looked like this because I had an eyelid infection.
So did they actually film the commercial, or they preempt you with that? Oh, they still did. They didn't pull in David Tennant with or wait, is that who it was? Whoever is doing the Buffalo now, the guy that did the voice for Launchpad on DuckTales.
I have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
The new commercials with the stupid Buffalo, and he's like, Buffalo Wings, or whatever he sings, and it's actually the voice of Launchpad from DuckTales. Same guy.
Okay.
That's it. There's nothing more.
I can assure you, unless it's for that snake oil show, I haven't seen a commercial in like 5 years.
Did you watch that?
No.
Did you watch Snake Oil?
No, I didn't watch Snake Oil.
I didn't. I was curious if it was any good. I saw the commercial too.
No, I mean, you can't not see the commercial. It comes on 8,000 times on Sundays.
Well, because David Spade got cheek work done, so now he has to get back on TV.
Is that the reason that he was no longer on TV? I thought him and Carvey's podcast was doing great.
Was it? I don't know. I just saw the commercial. If you watch the commercial again, it looks like this whole area right here like barely moves. Like it's kind of creepy looking. It almost looks like he's trying to keep his teeth clenched.
Well, I might have to do something like that for my eye at this point. Well, maybe if I can win enough this week and make enough right decisions, at least at running back, I'll be good to go.
Get Botox?
Yeah. So, I mean, Botox is easy stuff. Let's start with the injury report this week at running back. We still don't know the status of Saquon Barkley for week 4 because we're doing this on a Monday. So he's still a game time decision. But I'm assuming that if he's this close to playing this week, whether he plays or not, he's going to be playing in week 5. So he is in the rankings. Javonte Williams, I have as out with his hip injury. We'll see what his status is later on in the week. Austin Eckler didn't play, but he's also on bye week, so we don't have to worry about him this time. Elijah Mitchell did not play for the 49ers, and then both Jonathan Taylor and Jeff Wilson are eligible to return this week. I didn't put either of them in the rankings as of yet. I want to see if their coaching staffs are actually incorporating them into an offense sometime this week before we can talk about it. But I would have more faith that Jeff Wilson played than Jonathan Taylor in week 5.
I would, and I don't know that I would start either one of them. I mean, like, unless we get the news that everything's mended fences with Jonathan Taylor, but then look who he gets to show up and face. The Tennessee Titans run defense right out of your first game, potentially. So he would be an RB2, but I wouldn't be overly excited about it.
Okay. Let's get to the rankings. Running back for week number 5, full point PPR, Christian McCaffrey. Shockingly enough, numero uno in the rankings. Bijan is number 2. Josh Jacobs is number 3. Brian Robinson is number 4. Tony Pollard is number 5. Travis Etienne, Kyron Williams, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, and James Conner. That's the top 10. And then we start going down a little bit more. James Cook, Derrick Henry, Isaiah Pacheco, David Montgomery, Flea Market, DeAndre Swift, Damian Pierce, Devin Chan. Then you have Mostert, Moss, Stevenson, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones. That's Miles Sanders, Jahmyr Gibbs, Khalil Herbert. Your guy, Khalil Herbert. Now, I have a question about him off the top because he had a really nice week. You were telling me about it. Tambo tried to sell me on playing him last week. I wanted nothing to do with that. But we've seen in games so far that the split between Herbert and Roschon Johnson is really, if the Bears are close in a game, Herbert plays. When they get down by a ton, then he's not on the field and Roschon is playing. So it's going to be very difficult to figure out who's who week to week. It's probably going to be Roschon because the Bears suck.
They do often suck, but I mean, that was very telling from, your usage standpoint. And against Washington on Thursday night, I mean, I would lean to they can be more competitive in this game like they have been. And the full-on panic meter for Justin Fields is pretty much mostly done. I know a lot of people are like, but it was the Broncos. I think Justin Fields will be fine. I don't think that they're going to get waxed by the Commanders. We'll put it that way. So I think that this is the worst-case scenario, is that we're going to get a close game where even in close games, Khalil Herbert does spell or get spelled by Roschon Johnson a decent amount, and then you get a full 50-50 split, and neither of them are usable. Just because outside of getting 70% of the work, you can't. If we knew, hey, they're going to face the Commanders, they're going to be down 20 points by halftime, you'd be like, sure, I could play Roschon Johnson because he's probably going to get 60-70% of the work. If they're going to be up by 20, Khalil Herbert, sure. But the worst case is 50-50 because you can't use either of them when it's 50-50. There's just not enough there.
So taking a look inside the top 10, do you have any issues with any of these top 10 running backs? Because we do have 4 bye weeks. There are 4 teams on bye this week that you're going to be limited in a lot of your options, that if you have a starting running back, you're probably just going to be playing them.
You probably are. I would say there's not really much of an issue with outside of just somebody that I might play ahead of other people. Like, it's not just a 1 week thing. I was telling everybody to buy low on Derrick Henry. I'd still play Derrick Henry over James Conner and Alvin Kamara. Even though Kamara, a full point PPR, maybe not 13 for 33, the full on Julian Edelman special out there for Alvin Kamara. So I don't know. I mean, make that nitpick of a situation, but James Conner, just the team. Even against Cincinnati, I would still take Derrick Henry, especially because Henry is facing the Colts and the Colts defense. And then James Cook, I would not. You said top 10, but I'm talking about more of these guys here. I think we started at 11 before I have a real issue. James Cook is the only person I have an issue with so far.
So I would say what you're saying is I should move Derrick Henry. Like James Cook at 11 is too? Like he should be down to like 20? Or
too high.
Why is he too high?
Because he's getting pulled off the field for the passing game, which is the biggest problem. Like, the biggest issue we went into for this year was saying, like, okay, you and I had this argument in the preseason and you were full on James Cook. And I'm not saying you were wrong because the first 2 weeks were great, but the weeks one by one, it actually is every single week it's gone down. His snap count percentage in the passing game. He's losing passing opportunities to friggin' Latavius Murray. Did any of us think that would happen? Even me, who didn't have a lot of James Cook. No, but it's happening. And that's the biggest concern, is because he is getting some goal line touches, but Damian Harris came in. That play got called back, so he still actually was in after a few plays of Latavius Murray getting him into the rushing opportunity. So it's not that I hate James Cook. I still love him, and I still love the potential for him every single week, but behind Derrick Henry, who I said I would move up to 10, behind David Montgomery, behind DeAndre Swift, and I know that's where I would stop. I wouldn't push him down that. Actually, you know what? I would play Achane in front. Achane in front of him. I would go Achane, then Cook, then Pierce. Would be my order down there.
All right, I will drop down James Cook to behind David Montgomery. Let's talk about, you can just call him 8chan because he's a part of the two-and-on conspiracy, so that works out really well for all of us. I have 8chan at 17 and then Mostert at 18. But we don't know the status of Jeff. What if Jeff Wilson's back all of a sudden? Do we just think this is Achan's backfield all of a sudden? Because it's not going to be. No. This is the Dolphins' backfield. They're going to fuck with us every single week.
I could not agree more. This is why, like, somebody already came back at me and said, "Oh, you said to sell Achane high," and like, I was like, "But this is why." Yeah, okay, great game. That looks stupid after 1 week.
Hold on. Here, before you go on, I do want to make a comment about that. I appreciate that when you say things like "sell high," and I'll say it too, that what people hear is, I have to sell this guy now because he's never going to have a good week again. Like, it's impossible. Right. How could he ever have a good week? Right.
Well, and that's why I put the context in there for the buys and sells. Like, a buy, like, go buy low on blank. That doesn't mean go get them no matter what. Like, that doesn't be like, okay, last week, buy low on Derrick Henry. That doesn't mean trade Christian McCaffrey for Derrick Henry. It just means good opportunity. So the good opportunity for Achane was that if you got top 15 running back value, immediately get out of it because there's nowhere for it to go but up. Arguably, it did. It went up. You just finished with the top 5 running back again. That being said, okay, if you did wait, now where are you going to go up from here? Because I agree with you about Jeff Wilson. This is something we did last year. This is something you did the year before with Dolphins running backs, with 49ers running backs before they got Christian McCaffrey, with Eagles running backs before it cleared up with DeAndre Swift this year, past years with Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell and all the rest, is you chase these backfields and you chase the production. It's kind of like, it's basically tight ends. You're like, oh, this guy scored 13 last week. I'm going to start him. And then they do nothing. And it's like, well, I can't start him next week. And he goes off. And then you go back to, and you end up missing 65% of the good games and getting the bad games most of the time.
So right now, if there is no Jeff Wilson, let's say Jeff Wilson is back. Where do these guys drop? Because I don't think it comes.
I don't think he comes right back in and just starts getting opportunities.
Okay,
I think he would get eased in for that.
I agree with you, but he's still going to be, if he's active for this game, it's not like he's going to have 0 touches.
No, but it could be like a Rashad Penny type of situation.
Why would they activate him? Why would they waste the roster
spot? Because he's a healthy body.
They don't have to activate him.
Well, no, yeah, because you have no Savon Ahmed, so you have a third running back. A lot of teams have 3 active running backs. We talked about it last year, the year before, that it was kind of weird that the Packers were one of the few teams that only had 2 active running backs on game day. Most teams do run out 3.
Ahmed was back, by the way, against Buffalo.
Yeah, but I'm saying they don't need him now. Like with Jeff Wilson, they could have Ahmed inactive and have Jeff Wilson active as the third running back.
Sure, but if we're in a circumstance here where, hey, Jeff Wilson has been hurt, he has been on IR, we like Jeff Wilson. There's a reason that he's still on this team.
Yeah.
Like, I would assume that they would play him if they activated him. Not to say he's getting 20 carries, but if he gets 6 touches and he's on the field 23% of the time, all of a sudden that's just taking away from everyone else.
Sure. But I would say that at this point, if you said, let's say 6 touches, I think you're pulling 4 away from Mostert and 2 away from Achane.
Okay, well, I mean, they don't have that many touches to like start giving up if they want to be. I mean, I have them ranked just inside the top 20.
With you.
Okay, then what are we arguing about here? I would say my point was I would drop them down if Jeff Wilson's back.
I wouldn't. I would drop Mostert. The upside of Achane versus Zach Moss against Tennessee, if there is no, please, no. He deserves to be where he is in the conversation with Ramondre Stevenson, who's ceding 35% of the touches. That was a lot of fun with that. Zeke is getting the first team touch opportunities. It was still 16-8, which is 2/3 to 1/3, potentially sometimes more. I'm still not starting Stevenson over Achane with Jeff Wilson back. That's what I'm saying. I would still, even if Jeff Wilson plays, I would personally start Achane in this opportunity going against the Giants over James Cook, even with Jeff Wilson back. Now, Mostert, I would slide down.
How far do you think you would slide him down?
Behind Aaron Jones. Miles Sanders, I want to see first. I don't know why they even messed with something. Like, everybody's panicking about Miles Sanders. I'm not that worried with the Chuba Hubbard work. It just, Miles Sanders, if you watch that game, and a lot of it ended up happening in the second half when Hubbard got more work. Like, why did we play Bryce Young and Miles Sanders in that game? Neither of them looked 100%.
No, very clearly they were not 100%. It was very strange. But if Sanders was good enough to go last week and was like operating at 70%, I assume a week later that he's probably going to be fine.
Sure, but I don't like him facing that Detroit front 7. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is, like, I'm not panicking about Sanders, but I would still play. Most of it would be in the conversation with Sanders. Now, if Sanders full practice all week, I'd probably give him the slight edge and then put Mostert there with like Herbert and Jahmyr Gibbs.
So this is
I think Sanders is the cutoff.
Yeah, but this is sort of the tricky territory after you get past Colonel Mostert. You have Moss, Stevenson, Mixon, who's kind of can't really do much when Burrow can't throw the ball down the field and everyone can just load up the box and stay within 30 yards of the line of scrimmage. And now no T. Higgins as well in a decent matchup, but it's still not going to be great. Aaron Jones at 22, Miles Sanders, and then we're into guys who are not the starters on their team. You got Gibbs, Herbert, Breece Hall, who's still splitting time for reasons unknown, Alexander Madison, Cam Akers.
Well, he's the lead.
Who?
Madison. Akers had 5 touches.
Yeah, I didn't finish my fucking point.
Well, you said all these guys are not the lead.
And then
Sorry,
and then
I
I-
went off
and
what
th-
you said.
Sometimes you let people finish before you jump in.
Nope. I'm jumping in with a Jeff for you.
Madison and Edwards are the leads in their backfield, but you have Edwards, who's just kind of useless because Lamar is technically the lead, and then you have Madison. Akers started to put in a little bit more work in a very run-heavy situation. Now, it didn't come to full fruition because we saw Akers inside the 20 a few times, but Madison was still the lead. What happens in a game, much like this one against Kansas City, where they're big underdogs, where they don't run the ball 30 times? How is that going to look?
I don't think it's going to change. I think it's still 70% Madison. Akers got that, and then almost nothing for the rest of the game. His workload came in a very brief time. Like that, the 5 touches, I think 4 of them were all within that one spell, and then that was like it. Like I don't know if they were just kind of giving him a drive or giving him the opportunity. I still think it's Madison. Akers didn't 5 for whatever. What was it, like 30 or something like that? So it was like a decent yards per carry. But again, you're spelling somebody. This is Joshua Kelly. Like I'm not convinced that little brief spell inside that opportunity was going to do anything to Madison going forward. I would still start Madison over Herbert and Gibbs. I'd have Madison at 24.
See, I will not because Madison sucks, and that's like an issue for your team. It's like starting Najee Harris. Like he had his best game.
I don't think he sucks.
He had his best game in 2 years, and he had like 11 fantasy points.
I mean, and he's also facing Baltimore, but I would still start Madison over those. I would
start Madison over Najee, 100%. This we know. But guys, listen, I'm just going to play for upside with Gibbs, Hall, and Herbert in this spot because I feel like Madison's upside is like 20 carries for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like that's the best case scenario you could ever have. That's his 99th.
Madison's upside every single week. Just 2 weeks in a row, he's been a top 20 running back.
What is he, 19th?
I don't know what the official check-in so far for this year. I'll find out what he was so far. Well, I mean, Saquon Barkley's not playing. Let's be honest. He was 17th.
Dude, 17.
17 for 95. It's his fault that this offense sucked. All of a sudden, Kirk Cousins went belly up this week, and this offense couldn't even get him the scoring position outside you said it, the one touch for Cam Akers, but still 17th, actually back-to-back. Najee Harris right in front of him, 10.8 to 10.3.
Yeah, so these are like peak weeks. These are like 99th percentile outcomes for these dog shit running backs. So I don't want to play them.
No, because he just had 15 or 16 last week.
Breece Hall can get more points than that on one run.
No, he can't.
Yes, he can. I mean, he did it earlier this year.
It wasn't 16 points on one run.
No, you said he had what, 10.7 points this week?
He had almost 11 this week, and he had 15 or 16 last week.
All right, so Breece Hall week 1 had a rush that was worth what, 12 points? Like, Madison's not doing that. Like, if Madison's not good
10.
anyway, I'd at least like to take the flyer on Breece Hall. He's playing Denver, by the way. I just play everyone against Denver, as it turns out.
Well, sure.
One juke, Breece Hall is gone. Like, even if he gets 9 touches, I'd rather play the Breece Hall 9 touches over the Alexander Madison 17 touches.
I would. The guy's got 5 yards a carry plus the past 2 games. Are we just ignoring that like that didn't happen?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Guy's
Okay.
not good.
Okay, if you want to do that, I think he's good. I think he's a lot better than you give him credit for.
If you want to keep playing Alexander Madison, you have fun not making the playoffs in your fantasy league.
I will have a happy time as an RB2. Show me RB2s that are averaging 5 yards a carry.
Show me, okay, and 5 yards a carry? I don't have it off the top of my head, but give me Zach Moss. I would rather have Zach Moss the rest of the year in the worst matchups, even with the fear of Jonathan Taylor coming back. That is how bad Alexander Madison is.
No, he's not. You just hate Alexander Madison.
I don't hate Alexander
Madison. You hate the
Madison.
former president.
What president is he supposed to be? Are you thinking James Madison?
No, what was what's the play? Whatever it was.
Oh, Hamilton.
The one that on Broadway. Oh, that's what I was thinking, Alexander Hamilton.
It's nice that
I'm combining press.
It's nice that you are American and I am not. Just remember that.
I have never claimed to be a historian. I actually hate history. I get bored by it.
Really? Hate history?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't watch
here's some
documentaries because I don't watch documentaries. I never watch documentaries.
Here's some history for you. Alexander Madison has always sucked. Will continue to suck. Should pay attention to history. Paul.
No, here's the future. He's going to be better than Zach Moss for the rest of the year.
I think you guys need to make a bet.
Sure.
Madison versus Moss, rest of season.
Madison versus Moss, total fantasy points, rest of the season?
Well, I'm not. You can't make the. But what if Jonathan Taylor comes back? You immediately lose it. No, I'm giving you. Like I'm saying, you're the out.
I don't want the out. I'm willing to make the bet right now.
Okay, there you go. Alexander Madison versus Zach Moss, rest of the season.
Boom. Easy game.
I was trying to give you an out.
Listen, Jake. I know what the situation is. I just think Madison sucks, and I don't think that Jonathan Taylor is going to come back and play for the Colts. Therefore, Zach Moss potentially, because everyone is so afraid of Jonathan Taylor returning, and I don't know if he's going to return or in what capacity he's going to return in. Now, he might come back, and you're right. Zach might score 0 points the rest of the season and never touch the ball again. But people are actively looking to give away Zach Moss at this moment, and you can get him for nothing, and you might just have a starting running back.
I don't disagree with that at all. I actually said he's a buy if you want to put it as, quote, high, but he's not, because nobody wants to pay anything for him because it's like, well, he's not going to be playing anymore. So I actually agree with that point.
That makes it a pretty good target, just like the Jets on Sunday Night Football. Good betting target because no one wanted to bet them. And then Mahomes helped us out. Sounds like he bet the Jets with that slide. Other guys. So we're into like flex plays right now beyond RB2. And I mean, a 14-team league, bye weeks happening, some big running backs out. You might be in this spot. So Breece Hall, Madison, Gus Edwards, Jalen Warren, Jerick McKinnon, Najee. I have Jaleel McLaughlin at number 32. I don't know why he's out touching Samaje Perine, but he is. And he actually scores touchdowns for Denver, unlike any other.
He's more explosive.
Backs. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, he's not gonna. He won't be like an 80% touch type of guy because he's too small for that. But we've seen running backs like him. Be like, I mean, I'm not calling him Austin Eckler, but Austin Eckler doesn't need to be a bell cow 20 touch per game guy. So I think in that scenario, I would actually. Interesting enough, like I know you have Najee Harris way down here. Does Pittsburgh play Baltimore? I think if Williams is definitively out, I play McLaughlin over Warren. Yeah, I play McLaughlin. Warren fumble. Warren's still like we can complain all we want. I mentioned that to you last week, and this is why I said just keep playing Najee Harris, and you're like no. Yeah, but everybody was like no.
Who scored more fantasy points? Jalen Warren.
Then Najee Harris?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
He did.
No, he didn't. He fumbled, too.
He had, 6 catches, a bunch of carries? Yeah, he was fine.
He didn't score more than him.
Did Harris have
you looking it up?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Did Harris have a catch at the end of the game that I didn't see?
Harris had 14 for 71 and 1 for 32. Jalen Warren had 8 for 29, 6 for 26 with the fumble.
So let's see.
Scored
6, 8, 9, 10, 11, minus 2, 7... No, you're right. He outscored him by 1 point. Very good. That explosive Najee Harris. Yeah, so I'd still rather play Jalen Warren. I want the guy with the 6 targets, not the guy with the 2 targets.
No. I'm talking about McLaughlin over Warren. I'd rather play the guy in the lead versus the guy that's the backup. That's all I was saying. I wasn't talking about Najee Harris versus Warren. I was talking about McLaughlin versus Warren.
Oh, I'd still rather play Warren than Harris. I think your backfield of Najee Harris and Alexander Madison is not looking great right now.
That's fine, but just McLaughlin up to 29 ahead of both Steelers is what I'm getting at, and ahead of McKinnon, who I know that what you're sitting here saying is that this is a game that McKinnon could get involved because of game script, but I don't believe it because Matt Nagy seems to hate Jerick McKinnon.
I think they're saving Jerick McKinnon for the playoffs. That's their move. We always forget. We forget this every December. All of a sudden, Jerick McKinnon pops back up on the scene for the Chiefs, and he starts catching touchdowns every single weekend in the playoffs.
He's small Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he's their guy that they use. And then I'll move Jaleel McLaughlin to number 29. That works out for me. Then after that, it's just like Jerick, Najee, Roschon, Perine. I mean, Perine could be better than McLaughlin in this game. I have no idea, but it's a tough matchup either way against the Jets. Then you have Gainwell, Devin Singletary, Algier, Justice Hill, Edwards-Helaire, Dalvin Cook. Bunch of nobodies, really. I think we're good here.
Bunch of gross. Yeah.
Wide receivers. Let's get to thems. Injuries at wide receiver. T. Higgins is expected to miss a few games at this point. Mike Evans is on bye, but he has his hamstring issue, so I'd look out for him. Just monitor what happens, not this week, obviously, but going into next week to see where he's at, to see if he's back on the practice field. So as in terms of the rankings, I have Khalil Shakir out, Zay Jones out, Traylon Burks out. I put Mingo back in the rankings for this week. He did not play with a concussion, so he should be good to go for this week, as we've seen with how concussion protocol has gone. Quez Watkins, Odell, Bateman, and Juwan Johnson all out. Chase Claypool has been benched for being shitty, so he's not playing. Although Jamison Williams can return this week. Do you think that he is going to play this week?
I think he will. I don't know how much. I don't know if it'll be a limited snap count or whatever, but yeah. I mean, it's not like he wasn't practicing. I don't think he was going to be like, oh, I got to wait my 6 weeks and then just wait until the final week to start practicing and get ready. So,
but where was he practicing though? Because he wasn't allowed at team facilities.
These people, I go back to what Mike Tomlin said years ago when we were talking about the suspension for Le'Veon Bell. It's like he knows they're going to be in shape. They know. It's just the difference why I bring up the snap count is what he said at the time about being in shape. They'll be in athletic shape, but there's a difference between what he said. I'm quoting Mike Tomlin here, as he said, there's a difference between athletic shape and football game day shape. Like being able to know, like you're going to get hit, you're going to get taken. And it's the different. You can be in shape, but it's just a different feel of being out there, which is why I'm saying I think he'll play. I just think it could be 20, 30 snaps and not, a full 50.
Yeah, I have Jamison Williams at number 47 in the wide receiver rankings this week. That's by like Jerry Jeudy and DJ Chark. I would guess that if he's on the field, it's almost like what we saw with his like 49-yard touchdown last year. Like, hey, go run some 9 routes. That's what you're doing. Basically, he's Marvin Mims.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. I would consider him the same for week 5.
Yeah, so that's like 47 in the rankings this week because the rankings get thin very quick at receiver. Justin Jefferson is number 1. Tyreek, Devontae, Steph Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, CeeDee Lamb, Puka. I have no Kupp in the rankings. I don't think the Kupp plays this week.
I have no idea what's going on with Kupp.
But
if Kupp plays...
If Kupp plays, I will move Kupp into number 3 or something like that in the rankings. I still think that because of the pace of play that the Rams have right now, they're underdogs in this game at home indoors to the Eagles. The Eagles just don't look great. They look good. They don't look great like we envisioned them being, although their pass rush might give Matt Stafford and that beat up O-line a little bit of issue or a lot of bit of issue. We'll see. But I don't think that Puka's targets are going from like 17 to 2. Like, I could still see, like,
No.
Tyler Higbee had 11 last week. We saw Tutu have over double digits in multiple weeks. I think it's going to be Kupp the number 1. He'll have like 13, 14 a week. And then Puka will have between like 7 and 12. He's going to be fine.
Which at this point, let's play the game if Cooper Kupp is playing. I'm looking at number 12. I would play Nakua over Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle, look, the numbers, I have this in my waiver column coming up. The numbers are all there for Waddle, like the yards per route run. His reception percentage is actually up. Air yards is about close to the norm. All this type of stuff. The yards after the catch is up. Air yards are down a little bit. I'm getting told. The point being, the biggest problem is the route percentage of targets is down significantly. Like Tua is just spreading the ball around. And that's even not including the game that he missed because of the concussion. Like he's just spreading the ball around. And I gotta tell you, like, the Waddle has number 1 finish upside. Like he could be the number 1 wide receiver in week 5, especially going against the Giants. But that being said, the way that the target distribution is going right now, if Kupp is back, I'd still play Nakua over Waddle. And I would drop Nakua and I would stop at 12. And you have Debo at 15. I'm so annoyed by that report. There were so many reports that were garbage on Sunday morning, including the fact that Debo was fine, who just turned into a complete decoy.
They were
if
all
he's
wrong.
100%.
Every single one of those reports was wrong this week.
Oh, I had the list of them, every single one. They're like the 5 so Roschon Johnson enhanced role. Nope. And granted, we talked about game script and that, but Cam Akers hot hand. Nope. 5
Marvin
touch.
Mims?
Marvin Mims? Nothing. Zeke starter reps? Nope. Debo should be fine? Nope. Decoy. All of those are bull crap. We're at that time. We do this every year, Pat, and I mentioned that on All Football. It's those 12:30 reports that we get on Sundays, and it's like, I'm hearing this, but just don't pay attention to anything from like 12:30 to 1 o'clock. Just stick with what we knew before that. But if Debo is 100%, I said this on All Football because of what's going on with Joe Burrow, and this comes into the rankings right now. Like Debo at 100%, we're talking about somebody that was just top 10 before last week's game. If you throw out the, I guess you can call him decoy game, he's still a top 10 wide receiver right there neck and neck with Ayuk. Jamar Chase has the upside of being the number 1. But if you told me this version of Joe Burrow, whose off-target percentage is out there with Zach Wilson and Brock Purdy, who we know is inaccurate and his team makes up for it, and I'm trying to think of Justin Fields' inaccuracy, the leg is not right. He's floating passes when he's trying to throw downfield. That's why his ADOT is crap, because he can't throw downfield. I would take, and I just said this, I want to see if you agree. Rest of season, I would take Debo over Jamar Chase if Joe Burrow is going to play through this the entire year. It's a quantifier, but if I know that Joe Burrow is going to do this the entire year, I would take Debo over Jamar Chase.
I wouldn't. Only because I think that we've seen since Christian McCaffrey arrived in San Francisco that Debo has been super boom, more so bust. That it's games when Ayuk is a little bit banged up, that it's even the same as Kittle. Like Kittle's going to have his 4 good games. That's going to kind of be it for him. It feels like it's the same way with Debo. Now, I understand the point about Burrow that if he plays through it, he's god-awful, and that's just going to affect Jamar Chase. But Jamar Chase is kind of in that Breece Hall zone for me, is that they could throw him 10 bubble screens. He might break one for 90 yards and a touchdown. I know you could say that about Debo as well, but Debo might play games with 0 targets. Or even if he's healthy, he might have games where it's
I don't think it is. I think it's Kittle.
No, it's both of them. It's McCaffrey.
No, because
it's McCaffrey up
look
here.
At the first
it's
3
McCaffrey
games.
up here. Then it's Ayuk, and then it's the rest.
You can keep yelling. He had 11, 22, and 25 in the first 3 games. Fantasy points.
Okay. That's great.
Where did it go away?
Last week.
He was a decoy because he was injured.
Do we know that for sure?
He didn't practice and got eliminated on Friday. That's why we said the report was crap, because Sunday morning they said he should be fine. You watched that game. He was a decoy. He was not out there to play.
So the biggest game that he had was the game that Ayuk was hurt.
No, what? He wasn't that hurt against the Giants.
In week 3, when he basically Ayuk wasn't going to play and then was the last second active and basically
Which just happened to Debo. So let's talk week 2 when he scored 22 points.
All right, the game where Ayuk got banged up to begin with. So the 2 healthy Ayuk games has been all Ayuk.
And Debo's been one of the top 5 against man coverage this year. Well, Ayuk does great. Or no, I'm sorry, Debo zone Ayuk man coverage. So all I'm saying is Kittle's the one that's being left out.
All right, I'd still rather have Jamar Chase than Debo Samuel. I think you can make this case against another receiver who I like more than Debo Samuel, but I don't want to play the boomer bust game with him. And if things go right, because we don't know what's going to happen with Joe Burrow, we're not from the future, that I would rather just stick with Jamar Chase because, as you said, Jamar Chase potentially has the ability to still be the number 1 receiver in football from this point out. Debo doesn't.
I just don't think Jamar Chase does if Joe Burrow's calf. If they're not going to sit him, if they're not going to get him healthy, it's not going to heal. We're going to deal with this for the rest of the year.
Well, at some point, Joe Burrow will be shut down. Either he plays through it and they get so far out
and then Jamar Chase has to play with Jake bleeping Browning.
I mean, it seems like he's healthier than Joe Burrow is. What do you know about Jake Browning? I know nothing about Jake Browning. Is he as bad as that guy that Cleveland started yesterday?
Thompson Robinson? No, because he's a completely different quarterback. But is he any potentially as better than Zach Wilson or Desmond Ridder?
I would hope so, because those guys are terrible.
No, we can hope. Like you just said, we don't know. What do we know about Jake Browning? We know his college resume, and it's mediocre.
I would still rather take the gamble on Jamar Chase because A, he can do a ton by himself. Now there's no T. Higgins around. He just might end up with 17 targets a game. And eventually just threw it. I mean, if we just talk about he had a very poor game against Tennessee, everyone had a poor game against Tennessee. We revert back to Monday night. It was just the Jamar Chase show with an equally as banged up Joe Burrow.
Sure, but I think we could just, like you just said, 1 week we have a Debo show and 1 week we have an Ayuk. I'm just saying the conversation is at least there. If you want to stick with Jamar Chase, that's fine. I don't like Joe Burrow in the Chase situation with the volatility.
I think that the point is that I don't disagree with your point about Jamar Chase. I think Debo is just the wrong guy. Give me Ayuk. I'd rather have Ayuk than Jamar Chase.
Okay, fair. But and I see your ranking of Chase. We did the top 10, and I'm looking at your ranking of Chase. You have Chase at 11. We are on the same page there because that's my whole point is that Chase now deserves to be in this conversation with the target share concerns of Jalen Waddle, the up and down of Nico Collins, the Debo Samuel, the Chris Olave, which that went bad. DJ Moore. Hold
on. I rewatched that game this morning. If Olave doesn't drop his fucking touchdown, he has a great game. He dropped a 60-yard touchdown.
He has a good game.
I mean, well, he has a much better game than what we saw, but that's what you want out of this style of receiver. Dude got open behind the coverage. Derek Carr hit him in the hands. He just dropped it.
Right. So, but point being is that Chase is not, Chase was in the conversation of Hill and St. Brown and stuff like that, and now he's in this group.
Oh yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
what we agree on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think that anyone's saying like Jamar Chase is like a top 5 guy going forward with this version of Joe Burrow. No one. Who was saying that? That's a straw man.
Those people that want to start the arguments when I was just bringing out my point.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
But let's get down to the teens, and we spent way too much time on Joe Burrow.
DJ Moore made Justin Fields look. I mean, all that talk in the offseason is like, hey, get the dude some weapons. DJ Moore's trying his best to make Justin Fields look good because that touchdown grab that he had was all DJ Moore.
It was, and Washington has been exploitable in the secondary, so I don't hate the DJ Moore ranking as 16. I just, you know me, DJ Moore in my ranks is going to be 20. He's just forever 20. He's just going to be too high or too low. I'm just going to keep ranking him 20.
Yeah, Nico's going to be a little bit like Olave, I think, in a sense, where they're going to have down. Everyone has down games. I feel like people don't seem to realize this. It's like McLaurin. McLaurin's been pretty good.
Except for Christian McCaffrey.
Except for Christian McCaffrey. But wait for the week that he has, like, he gets like tweaks his hamstring or something. It's like 6 carries for 48 yards and a touchdown. Then he tweaks his hamstring and goes out. Then you see all these fucking people crying about it. It's like, fucking drop him then. Don't like it? Drop him. How about that?
Did you have somebody come for you on Christian McCaffrey?
No, it's just I see it.
Actually, you know who else doesn't have a down week? Justin Jefferson.
This is true, but people will be. How many touchdowns did he score last week? 2.
Yeah,
not enough.
But he still had
not enough.
I was gonna say he still had high teens in week 1 when that was like his worst game.
Yeah, if he didn't score, guy doesn't even score touchdowns every single week. How good is he? People are idiots. So for the moment, I have Nico at 13, Olave, Debo, your boy, DJ Moore, McLaurin, Adam Thielen. I have Christian Watson at 19. He was very clearly on a snap count last Thursday, but he was able to play. We're now 10 days later. I'm assuming that he's going to be better and back into being the number 1 because that game is on Monday night. So he actually gets 11 days off before he has to play.
With the Raiders.
I got you. I know the schedule. Calvin Ridley at number 20. Michael Pittman, Jacoby Myers, Romeo Doubs, Cortland Sutton, Christian Kirk without Zay Jones. If Zay Jones is playing, he will occupy this spot. Christian Kirk will go blue back down. Gabe Davis, Michael Thomas. I have Tutu Atwell at 28 right now because I don't have Cooper Kupp in the rankings. If Cooper Kupp plays, Tutu Atwell is also going blue. Garrett Wilson, Hollywood Brown, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, Tyler Boyd, Drake London, Jahan Dotson, DeAndre Hopkins, Robert Woods, Tank Dell, Michael Wilson, 2-touchdown Michael Wilson. And then we got like Josh Downs, Shaheed. Curtis Samuel's been like shockingly good. For a guy no one has played. I mean, for a guy no one plays.
Well, I mean,
like for a guy that is available in every single league. He's available in every single league you could have picked up. And I think 2 of the past 3 weeks he scored like 16 points.
Has it been that much?
I think so.
No. 9, 5, 6, and 15.
He had 15 last week against the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. He was
nothing before that.
No, he had 12 last week. Oh no, because he had a rush for a touchdown. He scored like 20-something points this week.
Are you doing full PPR? Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing full point PPR. That's what I'm talking about.
11. Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed with your eye this morning?
I told you I had an eye infection. We just talked about this.
I know. You're cranky.
I'm not. You're cutting me off
Cranky
every
week 5.
fucking 5 minutes.
I added context for your listeners with the Raiders, and you yelled at me.
They fucking know what the schedule is, Jake.
Do they? You see the questions you get asked every single week.
I get that. I'm not concerned about fucking morons who have fucking questions they can Google in 2 seconds. Those people are idiots. I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about us trying to help out people with real decisions, not, I don't know who's playing who this week. Help me.
I'm sorry, not every one of your viewers knew the schedule by heart on Monday.
I'm trying to go down the list of people, and you're cutting me off while I'm trying to do it.
It was not cutting. Okay.
Now go ahead. Say what you got to say.
No, I won't add more context about teams, placing teams.
We can if we stop on a player, we can talk about who they're playing, when they're playing, what coverage they're playing. When I'm trying to do the list, I'm trying to get that information out there for people.
You were talking about Christian Watson, and you were going on about Christian Watson, and I said, and against the Raiders.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for the sorry. I never get it. Anyway, Curtis Samuel scored like 22 points last week.
You can stuff your sorries in a sack, pal.
In a sack. Let's see here. He was 7 for... Wait, what am I looking at? Yeah, they played 7 for 51 and a touchdown. That's not bad. Let's see, 2 for 54. That wasn't so good. So he only has the one touchdown. It'd be nice to go. He was 5 for 50. So he has scored double digits 2 of the 4 games so far. Has at least 4 targets in 3 of the games. And Logan Thomas was back this week. Oh, he's their short yardage option. So maybe it will be in games where, I mean, they weren't really able to do anything against Buffalo, let's be real. But Arizona and Denver don't really have much of a pass rush. We know that Philadelphia does. Maybe that won't be the case so much against Chicago. But with teams that can actually get to the passer, because Washington's offensive line is going to be really bad, Samuel in short yardage situations for Sam Howell, if he has to break away and get the ball out quickly, I do think will work with Curtis Samuel.
It should. There's also a hell of a lot of volume in that game in week 4. That's the thing, too. It's like you had 10 targets for Terry, 9 for Dotson. Ooh, the 4 for 27. Yay. He finally had a decent week. Bastard. And 8 for Samuel. This is what we did last year. Samuel's that, like, I just need to get a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, that was I have him ranked as a wide receiver 4. My whole point was that he's 100% available. You can go pick him up if you need him.
Okay.
And then, because with Josh Reynolds, I have him ahead of Josh Reynolds because I don't know the Josh Reynolds situation now that Jameson Williams is going to be back.
Yeah, Josh Reynolds that time was fun. Unfortunately,
He'll find ways.
I don't think you can start him.
He'll find ways to aggrieve us throughout the course of the season. This we know. It happens it's him. There's another one too. Oh, it's Khalif Raymond on the Lions. Just oh yeah, Jameson Williams. Oh no, that's not Jameson Williams. That's Khalif Raymond running down the field for a touchdown. It usually happens on Thanksgiving, when I'm trying to play DraftKings lineups with all these guys.
I think Josh Reynolds falls into the Jordan Addison conversation with Jameson Williams back.
Yeah, where do I have Addison? I have Addison at 52.
You have him further down.
6 zeros across the board for Addison. But this is what we saw. If he hadn't caught the touchdowns the first 2 weeks, this is kind of like where he'd be ranked. He stumbled in the touchdowns.
To go back to the sell highs and buy lows, that was one that after week 2, I was like, sell high. And they're like, oh, he's a rookie. Again, that's understanding that doesn't mean get rid of him on every single one of your teams. People are like, oh, he's a rookie. He's going to continue to break out. No, he only plays in 3 wide. The snap count's a concern. Mingo, concussion. But even before that, when DJ Chark came back, DJ Chark was in front of him. And we would talk about all these rookies. Mingo, Addison, who else did we talk? Smith and Jigba has to play tonight as the time as we're recording this, but Marvin Mims and Quentin Johnston, they're not the top 2 wide receivers. And you're going to play this game like Tyler Boyd until T. Higgins gets hurt. He's not going to get used that much.
Yeah. And that's why he's down in the 50s with 4 teams on bye. Any deeper receivers that you do want to give a shout out to in a week where people might have to go pick people up?
Looking at some of the matchups, there's not really great ones. I mean, if you want to risk, I'm kind of curious. We have to see what happens tonight. I'm kind of curious if the Giants are going to keep giving Wan'Dale Robinson more opportunities. That was somebody that, we know Dable liked last year, and he just had his first game back last week. If his snap count improves into the part where he's the top 2 or 3 wide receiver, again, top 3, I'm saying because this is only his second game. If he's back getting into that mix with Slayton, even possibly pushing in front of Paris Campbell, just because you're playing Miami, that could be interesting.
Yeah, he could put up basically what I was trying to derive from Curtis Samuel's numbers. You could just get from Wendell. And it's probably safer
There you go. Yeah.
Tight ends, injury report. I got Firemouth in his hamstring. I'm guessing he's not going to play because these hamstring injuries have been crippling everyone all year. Parham's on bye, but he hurt his wrist. Juwan Johnson exited the game for the Saints. Luke Musgrave sustained a concussion. Now, that was on Thursday night. We have not seen anyone have a concussion and play the following week. I suppose there is a chance that he could because he has that extended time off, but I don't think you were playing Luke Musgrave anyway with Christian Watson back.
Probably not. And a lot of people played him on Thursday night.
Yeah, and you'll have to wait until Monday night in order to know. So you're probably just, for the guy who's probably would be ranked the 21st best tight end this week, you could just play someone else.
You can. Get through your list because there is a name that is interesting in there.
On the injuries or the rankings?
The rankings. I'm just waiting for you to get to your rankings.
I'm going to say, because Irv Smith also didn't play. So with the rankings, Kelsey, Hawkinson, Andrews, Kittle, Laporta, Ingram, Waller, Ertz, Jake Ferguson, Hunter Henry. I got Goddard at 11, Higbee, Granson, Ty Conklin in a plus matchup against the Broncos. He's very clearly like a guy that Zach Wilson can actually throw to because he stands like 4 feet in front of him. So that's a positive. Jonnu Smith, Cole Kmet, Kyle Pitts, Logan Thomas, Hayden Hurst, and Mike Gesicki. That is my top 20 at tight end. I'm worried about Goddard, man. He doesn't do anything.
There you go. That was the one I was going to bring up. I said if his name wasn't I was going to say if his name's not Dallas Goddard, like what's the difference between Dallas? Nobody wants to play or rank. Everybody's dropping Kyle Pitts. Why aren't we doing the same with Dallas Goddard?
I think there's still a belief in that offense that it's still good. He's just not being involved right now. Whereas when you look at Atlanta, it's like, oh, their offense just sucks. Like even if it was, even if they do try to throw to him, Ritter can't hit him.
Sure, but I think like even if when he's been involved, because he did have 7 targets in weeks 2 and 3, it's just it's almost like the Joe Burrow thing. It's like they're terrible. They're 4 yards, and like this new Goddard usage this year. I don't know if it's because of the running back with Swift and this whole game with Gainwell, and then I just focusing on Smith and AJ Brown in the receiving game, but whatever it is, it's not just that Goddard's not being consistently used, is even when he is in those 2 weeks, everything is just short. There's just not a lot of upside. Like I'm looking down this list and look, it was a decent game and he's got the Bears. As Logan Thomas is healthy, I would just play Logan Thomas as a fringe. I'd play Logan Thomas over Dallas Goddard at this point, as long as he's healthy. Now he could leave the game because Logan Thomas is always getting banged up, but I mean, it's tight end after you get past Waller. And then you have that little tier of these are the reception floor guys of Ertz, Ferguson, and Henry. I mean, just start taking darts. And I would take the highest dart outside of Henry, I think, is Logan Thomas.
Ooh. I think I would say Granson. Like him and Phony Tony really have a thing going on right now. And
They
like,
do?
He just missed a touchdown. Well, he should. I think there was a penalty on the touchdown that he scored, so he got called back. But it's like Pittman, Downs, Granson. Those are his 3 dudes.
Yeah, but they do, and he does look to him. This is similar to your Kendrick Bourne argument, is that when he's out there, he looks for him. But I'm looking right now just to double check because they keep running these 3 tight ends in multiple. Yeah, see, like Ogletree was right on his heels in target percentage despite running half the routes. And then if you want to talk about it, Granson only still ran 17 routes. I don't disagree. Like I have Granson in a few deeper leagues. It's just he's just barely out there. He's out there for like half the passing downs.
Well, it's because they do enjoy running as much as they can.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I don't dislike Granson. I would just play Thomas over Granson.
All right, I'll
I
bump
think
up Thomas.
Granson is fine.
Yeah, I just think it's a nice matchup for him, but I agree with you. Yeah, I wonder what the split is. I mean, maybe it's a tell that the Colts have. What Granson splits are between passing downs and running downs?
I could tell you. Let's see. His offensive snap, well, I have offensive snap percentage and then his passing down snap percentage. So passing down snap percentage is 53. Well, there's your answer right there because he's on the field 55% of the time. 53% of the time on the field, he's for pass down. So almost every single down he's on the field for is a passing down.
So that's a positive for his receiving stats, at least.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, if he's only out, basically, if he's on the field, the Colts are passing.
Yeah. Well, I think, let me just make sure I'm making this right.
Yeah.
I lied. No, this is, sorry. So it's 55% of total snaps, and of the snaps he's out there, only 53% are. So because Mo Alley Cox is down at 26%, but 40% of his snaps are passing downs.
Okay, so it's Mo Alley Cox who's out there as a better receiver. So Granson is being asked to block a little bit.
He is, about 47% of the time, it looks like. Yeah, but Mo Alley Cox was only on there for 6 snaps, so that doesn't, it's relative.
All right, I will move Logan Thomas up to number 13. I'm going to keep Goddard at 11, still hold out hope that he can make a comeback here, and I'll put Higbee at 12. I don't know if his role changes as much with the return of Cooper Kupp, but I wouldn't anticipate him having 11. Listen, if I knew he was going to have 11 targets every single week, he'd be inside like the top 5. Would you play Laporta or George Kittle?
Ooh, Laporta?
Yeah, I just looking at the list, I was like, Kittle kind of reeks.
Yeah, like I go back to he's the one that's getting left out more than anybody. So, I know it could happen to anybody, but more than the other 2 he's getting left. Because we're talking about Kittle in past years. He was 20, 25, 27% some years in team target percentage. He's in the mid-teens. That's a stark drop-off for a tight end, especially of his caliber.
So I'll just bump him to number 5 right now. When you have an offense that's scoring like 35 points a game, just having pieces in it is usually pretty good, although we'll see how they fare against Dallas this week. Quarterback rankings, I got Let's see what I got on the injury report here for quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett expected to miss extended time. Matt Stafford has a hip injury, but he says he's going to play in week 5. I mean, I don't even have Joe Burrow listed, but he's got problems. Jimmy Garoppolo should be back for week 5 on Monday Night Football, and then Deshaun Watson is going on bye. Do you think that Watson would have played if Cleveland didn't have a bye week this week?
It seems like it. Seems like it was close enough because we didn't even get that word until like there was he's been iffy in practice, but there was never like the legit concern he was going to miss the game until all of a sudden Sunday morning when that news came out.
So I shook up the quarterback rankings a little bit this week. Again, 4 teams on bye, so no Geno, which is tough. I mean, you can't play Baker Mayfield this week. That's pretty tough. He runs now. Watch out for 3 touchdowns and 50 rushing yards against the Saints. It's a game for Baker Mayfield. But Josh Allen's at number 1. Allen, Tua, Hurts, Mahomes, Lamar, top 5. Phony Tony, Anthony Richardson. Daniel Jones, Brock Purdy, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud at number 10 with the matchups that they all have. The Goof, Cousins, Matt Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Howell at 15. I think between all of those guys, if you didn't have one of those starting quarterbacks, you could probably pick up Sam Howell and play him on Thursday night.
Yeah, Sam Howell's out there in a lot of leagues, and they're gonna good matchup. Although all of those right there in that range have decent, like Stafford, Howell, Love's got a good matchup. They all, I mean,
Yeah, Dobbs has a good matchup against Cincinnati.
I'd play Dobbs over Garoppolo at this point. On the upside. I mean, it's quarterback. It's upside.
Yeah, but I mean, what is a Dobbs? I mean, if we talk about his upside, what's like the best game Dobbs has ever had?
At 20 plus points. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure Dobbs is pushing top 15 on the year. Boom, he's 15th. He's 15th on the year. His game by game that's 15th on the year with a 1-point showing in week 1 against Washington. 23, 17, and 23 the past 3 weeks. 23 against San Francisco, 17 against Dallas. I'm playing Josh. I thought I was going with it. I'd play Josh Dobbs over Garoppolo. I might even think about Jordan Love's got the Raiders. Never mind.
There we go.
Although people already know that at this point.
They do. It's been screamed at them from what I've heard. So yeah, I'll bump up Dobbs to 17, put Jimmy G at number 18. Dak's just in it tough this week. Dak's had a string of like tough matchups in a row. And when Dallas is running good, they're just running the ball.
Yeah, they don't need him to. That was my concern for this entire year of Dak as your quarterback, is that they just don't need him to throw a lot. And then because of that, Dak, even on the running side of things, he doesn't run like he used to. Like we remember those, was it 3 straight years of 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns and about 300 yards? He just doesn't even do that anymore.
Yeah. Is Purdy a top 10 quarterback the rest of the season?
If he was on half the other teams in the league, you couldn't even have this as a conversation, because I just mentioned the inaccuracy of who he's there with. He is one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in the league. It's just when you have Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, and McCaffrey, I mean, it doesn't matter. So I think it would play matchups. I didn't even realize you had him at 8 against Dallas. I don't think I would play him that high. I mean, we're nitpicking here. Goff at home, I'd probably play over him, but he's at least in that tier of conversation. Like in that group of quarterbacks, if you said top 15, I'd say lock it in. You start talking top 10, I'm going to be like, it's kind of iffy. Mostly because we're talking about he doesn't run either. You don't have the Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones upside, even Justin Fields.
You don't. How many rushing touchdowns does he have this year? Does he have 1 or 2?
Purdy?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to check. I think it's 1, but he has
Purdy's
2.
stats.
You were correct. No, 2. 12 or 24, 2.
Yeah, he has 2. He has 2 sneaks. So that is a play that they use at the goal line, which I don't need him to run a ton. If it's like that year, I think Kirk Cousins had like 7 rushing touchdowns or something. I think it was his last year in Washington, where just every time that they got close, he just snuck it in, like the old Tom Brady, where they don't run and they do enough passing with efficiency, and then they just pile on like 6 rushing touchdowns to go along with it. That makes up for their lack of running in a lot of ways.
Well, then let me flip it this way and ask you, because you were asking that question. Do you think what we've seen so far from Brock Purdy is peak? Like, can it get better from here? Because I think that's a valid question, because what I'm going to come back and say is, even so, even as good as he's been to start this year in this 4 games, we're talking about 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 rushing. As you mentioned, that's part of the play. He's still only 12th in points per game behind CJ Stroud.
Yes.
And that's a full point and a half behind Mahomes.
I do think that it gets better, mainly because McCaffrey is scoring so many goddamn rushing touchdowns. Now, is McCaffrey going to score 32?
I don't know. That changes.
I mean, is he going to score 32 rushing touchdowns? Maybe. And if that's the case, then you have the 12th best quarterback.
But I'm saying he deserves to be here. I just, when you said top 10, I wouldn't put him in the top 10.
No, but if McCaffrey stops scoring multiple rushing touchdowns a game and those get translated into passing touchdowns all of a sudden, now he's way up there.
I'm looking at the names in front of him and like, who's he going to pass? Like Stroud, sure. But Mahomes, Cousins, Love, okay, Love, Tua, Hurts, Anthony Richardson, Lamar Jackson, Jalen, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. Like, he's not passing any of the other. I'll give you Love and I'll give you Stroud, and that puts him at 10
He could theoretically
on the nose. So there you win. You get the 10.
What do you think the split would be between him and Tua? Because him and Tua are kind of the same in terms of what they do in their offenses fantasy-wise. It's not like Tua's running.
But Tua has 2.1 points per game more than he does.
I would
It's a
hope
pretty
so.
significant gap.
They scored 70 points in a game. I would hope that would be the case.
Sure, but I just saying, like, I don't see him on that tier. That tier of 20s is Love. Well, I think Love would fall off. That touchdown rate has been ridiculous. But Tua, Hurts, Richardson are all in the 2021s with Lamar Jackson out. I just don't see him getting there.
Yeah,
I don't hate Purdy. I love Purdy.
I think like if you missed out on a good quarterback throughout the year, like Purdy's still available in league somehow.
I would, if you tell me right now, I'd make the switch. I wouldn't drop him for free, but at this point, bench Burrow for Purdy until you see him get okay.
Would you cut Burrow?
If my bench was slim, like some of those people out there play, like if it was a 4-man bench, and let's put it this way, 4-man, 5-man bench, whatever, but the waivers, your quarterback waivers have like Love and Howell and even Dak. If those quarterbacks are out there and you have options where even if somebody snakes Burrow from you, then yeah, I would.
I would too.
Because you could just play Purdy. You could play CJ Stroud going forward. The problem is you cannot, if you have Burrow, you're never going to be like, I'm going to bench him. I'm going to bench Burrow this week. So you just cut him off your team and get rid of the decision.
That is one of the most underrated things that you can do in fantasy, Jake, is take away the bad decision. You know it's a bad decision. Just cut him.
Yeah, there you go. Like the people running out 2 tight ends with like a Musgrave and a Tyler Higbee. Just stop trying to just banging your head against the wall. Pick one going forward and just stick with it.
Yeah, and then go pick up a backup running back who might turn into a running back 1 if someone gets hurt in front of him. That's a better use of your bench than 2 tight ends.
Oh, do you know how many weeks I've had like waivers run or like swapped and I've dropped and picked back up Rico Dowdle just in case Tony Pollard gets hurt?
And that's the move. Dallas plays so many primetime games, it makes it easy.
Yeah.
Defenses. Before we get out of here, once again, all the rankings are down in the description. You can go click on them, as is the DraftKings Listeners League. I have Baltimore at number 1 this week. The Jets at number 2 against Denver. Detroit, Washington, and Buffalo are the top 5 defenses for me. Niners, Chiefs, Philly, Arizona, Denver, the next 5, the New England, New Orleans, who are playing each other, Dallas, the Colts, and Green Bay on Monday night, Jake, against the Raiders.
Monday night against the Raiders, yeah. we locked that one in. I would have Miami higher, just because even if with Barkley's healthy, Daniel Jones, he's risky enough on his own. It's the Justin Fields argument. He gets reckless.
Yeah, Fields is more reckless.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying, like, against Miami, and you push that pace and you make Daniel Jones. We've seen this from time and again already. When you make Daniel Jones have to help win the game, that's when he starts getting reckless. Even fumbling the ball, running himself, just because he's trying to do more. I'm not saying that they need to be top 10, but let's see. Denver. I know it's against the Jets, but I might go Dolphins over the Denver defense.
See, I toggled with Miami. I had them initially a lot higher, but here's the thing. The sneaky part is that they're actually no good, so they are going to face volume. But I think I have Daniel Jones at quarterback, number 6 for the week. Like, I just think Daniel Jones is going to move the ball against them.
Are they really that bad, though?
Yeah, they get no pressure whatsoever.
That's what I was getting ready to pull up, is their pressure rate. Is it that low?
Yeah, I think it's bottom 5. I mean, I don't have the updated stats through week 4, but from watching the game, I can tell you they weren't really in Josh Allen's grill all that often.
Well, if you keep talking, and I can kind of waste some time here, and I can find out what their updated pressure rate is.
I think the move is, like, if you don't have a defense to play, like Washington and Detroit should be targets 1 and 2. The rest of these defenses are probably owned. No one owns Arizona's defense, and they get gimpy Burrow. That would be where I would be going with it.
I found out, you might be shocked to know, they're 11th
in pressure
rate. Yeah, 37%.
What was their adjusted sack rate coming into the week?
That I don't have.
Because
I'm on True Media for they get their pressure rate number from PFF.
Okay, so I'm going to go on FTN and go to DVOA here. Shout out to Chris Meany and to you, who does the All-In show as well. Code Meany at FTN.
Here's something you might be looking at if you pull up. So True Media has a pressure rate that's on. So you have the pressure rate from PFF, but then True Media has the percent of offensive dropbacks where they were sacked, duress, or hit. That's a completely different pressure rate. That's the league high for that is the Commanders at 13.7, a much lower number overall. That might be what you're looking at because the Miami Dolphins are third worst. It's 3.4, and the only two teams worse than them are the Buccaneers and Chiefs.
That is exactly what I'm looking at. But are you looking at offense or defense for that?
The defensive forced pressure rate.
I think you're looking at offense for like. I think you're looking at it the opposite way because coming into the week, Tua had only taken 1 sack, Mahomes had only taken 1 sack, and Baker had only taken 2, and those are the 3 teams at the bottom.
Okay, so that's the offensive one.
Yeah,
I defensive one.
I believe you're looking at the offensive one, so you need to flip it.
Okay.
So I'm looking at adjusted sack rate right now for the Dolphins. They are
that would make sense.
They're 15th.
With the Commanders at 13.
Yeah, the Commanders
15th.
are the worst because they do get pressure behind you.
Hal gets sacked all the time.
All they do is get sacked. So the Dolphins are right around the center in terms of sack rates. Maybe they're better than I thought they were. Just you don't notice it in game, and they basically have to send a blitz every single time because that's all they got. And once you get past their front seven, like Xavier Howard just pass interferes with people. That's his only move now.
I mean, at least you don't give up fantasy points for that, right?
Yeah, I wish we could get some fantasy points for that. That'd be really nice. Who are the worst defenses in terms of the Giants? Of course, the Giants. The Bears, the Giants, the Seahawks, Falcons, and Broncos are your 5 worst teams in terms of adjusted sack rate for the defense onto offense.
That's interesting. So the Dolphins are also middle of the pack and forcing 3 and out.
Yeah, I mean
they're actually 17th. The Cleveland Browns have forced 3 and out on 58.8% of their plays.
Do you feel like the Browns, once they found out that Watson was out, that they just kind of mailed in the game?
They're just like, whatever.
Yeah,
on that one.
Yeah, because like there was a scenario in that game. Listen, Baltimore's defense has been really good, but you take Ford, you take Hunt, you take whoever, you run these like basically just take Baltimore's playbook from the first year with Lamar and run those with Thompson. But instead, they had him like slinging it and throwing picks. It was really weird.
I don't know if they just didn't want to change the game plan, but also that doesn't even seem like a great game plan to have, even with Deshaun Watson, maybe coming off last week. I don't know. That's the thing too. You have to remember, like, I don't know that the Browns knew this the entire week themselves. Like, nobody was reporting this. Like, there was just like, oh, Deshaun Watson going through practice, everything. Like, nobody was really saying there was a real threat he was going to miss the game. So maybe the Browns themselves even weren't prepared for this. And then you kind of just have to throw him out there and give him the Deshaun Watson playbook, similar to when Justin Fields first started and then took over, and that wasn't a playbook designed for him. The other thing, this is now before Monday Night Football as well. Pressure rate allowed. The Giants are actually the 3rd highest behind the Bears and Jets.
All right, so maybe I will bump up Miami then. It sounds like you're making a very good case for Miami. And I will throw them at number 10, ahead of Denver, who generates very little pressure, even although they are playing the Jets. The Jets have probably the worst offensive line in football.
They are second. The Bears, Jets, and Giants are at the top 3 and allowing pressure to their quarterback.
So you sold me. The Miami Dolphins, number 10, ahead of the Denver Broncos, 1 spot behind the Arizona Cardinals. All my rankings are available now on the DraftKings Network and down in the description of this podcast and video. Jake, your rankings will be available on theathletic.com Tuesday at midnight, correct?
Yes, they are.
And if you want to make rankings out of projections that you make yourself, runthesims.com code RANKS will get you the discount. And that's just for the projections. You can also get the optimizer, the simulations, the prop sniper, the DFS lineup builders. Everything under the Run the Sims banner is available with code RANKS at runthesims.com. So thank you all for watching. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time. All right. Good lively show. That's what I like.
Experience! Experience!